Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. The 6th edition of the Vision of Development Forum in Gdynia ended today. The event was held under the honorary patronage of the Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki. During the forum, the most important challenges facing the Polish economy were discussed. Our reporter, Łukasz Muda, was on the scene. In this year's edition, special emphasis was placed on such areas of the economy as innovation, energy and health. Panel discussions included speakers from the world of business, politics, journalists and experts, among others. It is very important that senior policy is not separate. It is part of social policy. This social policy of both support for families with young children and seniors, we can say boldly, is at the centre of the Polish government's activities. And why? Because this is the question that immediately comes to mind. Because it is an investment in the future, an investment in human capital, but an investment in the development of our homeland as well. An important topic turned out to be the challenges facing Poland, especially in the context of Russian aggression against Ukraine. Transmission of gas indeed and securing this energy security of the country has been the subject of very intensive efforts over the past 7 to 8 years, and today we can say we are already safe. We have a gas port built in Świnoujście. It is currently in the process of expansion. This expansion will be completed around the end of the year. The issue of Poland's efforts to receive reparations from Germany for World War II was also raised. They destroyed Poland so that it had no development potential. Buildings and infrastructure were already demolished after the end of hostilities, for example, after the fall of the uprising, so that Poland could not be reborn. This was the assumption. This was planned. It was not an accident. They did it so that Poland could not develop, and now they have to pay for it. This is international law. This is what elementary decency requires. Germans, who write about themselves that they want to lead Europe, can they have any aspirations at all without paying for crimes, for the destruction? And they subjected themselves to the idea. Let them take over our contribution to the European Union. At least 100 years or so of payment for this contribution, and it will be at least a minimum of reparations paid. This year's forum brought together more than 200 speakers and several thousands of participants. A special gala was the culmination of the event, during which economic awards were presented to companies that have achieved special achievements in progress and innovation. From Gdynia, Łukasz Muda, Telewizja Republika. Day 481 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Sirens were heard wailing in Ukraine's capital Kiev this morning as Russia launched a widespread overnight air attack targeting multiple cities from east to west. About 20 enemy targets were identified and destroyed in the airspace around Kiev. Serhiy Popko, the head of the Kiev military administration, said on the Telegram messaging app. Critical infrastructure in Lviv and Zaporizhia region was also targeted during the overnight attack, according to their respective military administrations. There were no casualties reported. Ukrainians are continuing counter-offensive operations. Ukraine's 3rd Assault Brigade released footage on Monday showing its soldiers moving under fire to man their trenches during the fighting near Bakhmut. Reuters was not able to identify it independently, the location or the date the video was filmed. Britain's Ministry of Defence said on Monday that over the last 10 days Russia has likely started relocating elements of its Dnipro group of forces from the eastern bank of the Dnipro River to reinforce Zaporizhia and Bakhmut sectors. Meanwhile, 2 weeks after a dam breach caused massive flooding in south Ukraine, a village in Mykolaiv region bore evidence of the scale of the destruction. Areas south of the major Dnipro River were flooded by the destruction of the huge Kakhovka hydroelectric dam on the 6th of June. Located by the Inhalets River that flows through Mykolaiv and Kherson regions, farmland around the village of Pavlo Marianivka was completely destroyed. Several thousands of hectares of barley, sunflower and other crops were destroyed, locals say. There is no gas or running water in the village. Authorities have fixed a power supply, but people are afraid to turn it on because their houses remain damp. The water was up to the ceiling. Everything here was under water. The water forced the window out. Our belongings and all of the furniture swam around. The walls were crumbling. My mother was living here. She slept in this room. Now everything is ruined and destroyed. It has become impossible to live here. The water level in the Inhalets River has almost returned to normal, but the damage caused to its surroundings remains. Look at what the flooding has caused. It seems like there was something else in the water. It looks as though it got burned by some chemical. Usually, after coming into contact with water, it has to lie and dry, but now it just turns to dust. I believe there were chemicals in the floodwater. Of course, such things got into the water. Volodymyr Savchuk tore branches from his fruit trees to demonstrate the state of his garden. It's not there anymore, just all gone. It's getting all yellow. It drowned. In a week or two, it'll be completely rotten. The portal of the Greek Daily Katimanerini, citing court information, reported that a 32-year-old Bangladeshi man, the main suspect in the murder of the Polish woman Anastasia Rubinska, who worked on the Greek island of Kos, will testify tomorrow. Present at the court on the island of Kos were the mother of 27-year-old Anastasia, who has hired independent investigators looking for her daughter and the dead woman's partner. The Etnos portal reported that Anastasia's mother and partner were given permission by the police to leave Greece, but were asked to remain available at the request of the authorities. Yesterday, Anastasia's boyfriend gave explanations to the Greek police. The suspected Bangladeshian has so far maintained his innocence. Yesterday, Attorney General Zbigniew Ziobro announced the opening of an investigation into the murder of the 27-year-old. The case is to be handled by the prosecutor's office in Wrocław, the woman's hometown. In turn, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki announced that Poland will seek the extradition of the main suspect to Poland. The male suspect was arrested on Friday. He faces charges of kidnapping and a sexual act with a person incapable of resisting. He was the last person the woman met before she went missing a week ago. When the woman failed to attend a meeting with her boyfriend, he notified the police that she was missing. Anastasia's body was found on Sunday afternoon. Search teams from the United States and Canada are racing against time to find a submarine that went missing sailing to the wreck of the Titanic. 5 people are on board, including Stockton Rush, the founder and chief executive officer of the vessel's United States-based operating company, OceanGate, and British billionaire and explorer Hamish Harding.
Contact with the submarine broke off on Sunday after about 2 hours of submergence. OceanGate Expeditions, the company in charge of the voyage, said that government agencies, the U.S. and Canadian navies, and commercial companies are involved in the search operation.
We're working very closely at this point to make sure that we're doing everything that we can do to locate the submersible and rescue those on board. The location of the search is approximately 900 miles east of Cape Cod in a water depth of roughly 13,000 feet. It is a remote area and it is a challenge to conduct a search in that remote area, but we are deploying all available assets to make sure that we can locate the craft and rescue the people on board. We understand from the operator of the vessel that the vessel was designed with a 96-hour sustainment capability if there was an emergency on board. And so we're using that time, making the best use of every moment of that time to locate the vessel.
Experts say the crew of the missing submarine should have enough oxygen to last until Friday. Among the 5 crew members who set out to explore the wreck of the Titanic are British billionaire, businessman and explorer Hamish Harding, Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood along with his son, French explorer Paul-Henri Nargeolet, and Stockton Rush, CEO of OceanGate Expeditions.
Deep submersible diving is very dangerous, but it's high tech, and as each year goes by, the equipment gets better, the technology gets better, and so on. So I'm very hopeful and very positive. I was in the sub for 12 hours. We have our own breathing system on board, and if that's maintained properly, like changing your filter and your CO2 scrubber, you can stay down there for quite a few hours. And in our case, I was down there for 12 hours total time in the sub, and the new technology obviously can extend that too, right?
The lost submarine is the Titan. Tickets for the 8-day underwater expedition cost $250,000. Titanic, which was the largest ship of its time, collided with an iceberg during its first voyage in 1912. More than 1,500 people died in the disaster. The wreck of the Titanic was found in 1985.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business, and more programs. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.